Thank you for that, that is clearer though.
Is there any road before I get, you let me know when you're ready.
I
You ready?
turned it on,
That's it.
I'll talk to you later.
but let me sit.
Let her get himself together. You all set?
I am.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order at 8 o'clock in the morning. And the first set of business is to set the 2019 tax rate. You should have the formulas in front of you on what they have, Department of Revenue has come up with, which is for 2019, what was the,
Yeah, it's at the top of that sheet.
yep, and what was,
2412 was our
Yeah.
previous,
Last-
2414 rather.
this year's.
2414 is the 2018 rate.
right, so the recommendation is 2246, which is a decrease,
An enormous decrease.
yes.
So, while that is temporarily happy news for people,
Mhm.
it also comes with a dark side, which is that in December, a year from now, there will be an enormous increase because the July bill is based on half of the previous year. So the June-July bill next year will be artificially low from what we know it would need to be. One would hope that the June bill would be half of the total year, or nearly so. It's the estimated bill, whereas the November bill is the final bill that takes the whole tax rate into account and subtracts what was paid in June. So people will not have paid nearly half in June, which will make the November bill much larger. So
Can you use a concrete example? So your tax bill is 5,000.
okay, so if your tax bill is $5,000 for all of 2018, then you will then your estimated bill in June the following year is, so June of this year is $2,500. So then your bill in December, because the tax rate went down, might be only $1,500, for
Okay.
example. So it's not gonna be the full $2,500. So
So
that
then-
means in 2019, you've paid $4,000.
But does it,
So,
I'm sorry.
so hold on, so then in June of 2020, you're gonna pay $2,000 instead of the $2,500 or more that you should spend, because the tax rate we can anticipate will not only get to where it was, but it's likely to go possibly even a few cents more than
Yeah.
that the following year, and you've only paid $2,000 on
Totally.
what's gonna ultimately be a $5,000 or $5,500 tax bill.
So on the December one, you also get a credit for what you overpaid in July, plus the reduction of the tax bill.
Which is why this tax bill is gonna be sort of double happy, for the same reason that
Right.
you've paid more than half of what this total
Right.
year is gonna be, yeah. So while it's wonderful this time around,
So the bill that's gonna get sent out today
Now,
or tomorrow
yes.
is based on whatever rate we've come up
Just
with.
this rate here. if
Well,
this
you
is
have
what
some
it is.
flexibility with that, so,
Only to lower it though, right?
well, we can talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
No. So my suggestion to you for your consideration is that, yes, normally, through the general fund, the board has the power to put money toward the tax rate. You can see on this separate printout that I gave you, what the fund balance recommended ranges are. It gives you, they recommend that you retain between 5 and 17% in your general fund. And so it gives you the amount that corresponds to. And then on the very back of the multi-page printout, it tells you the same information, but also where we're at now. So we're at 9.28% now, which is a healthy medium range. if you were experiencing the opposite effect, like a bump up, an extraordinary bump up, you could take some of that $752,000 and use it to lower the tax rate. And so typically that's what this meeting is for, is how much of that money would you like to put against the tax rate, or do you want to take the DRA preliminary tax rate as suggested? So this year, because it's extraordinarily low, DRA does not have the same kind of mechanism. There's no way to untake fund balance. There's like to do the opposite effect. So what you can do are one of two things. The overlay. The overlay is the amount of money that we are projected to pay out in abatements. We settled the PSNH settlement this year, and then there are 6 more abatements that have not been settled, which may either get settled in December or could, November or December, or it could go to BTLA next year. So we're still in mediation and that hasn't happened yet. So so right now, the overlay is set at $20,000. You can increase that amount of money, and that will raise the tax rate only pennies. You don't have, great flexibility in how you can mitigate the circumstances, but the reason I printed this separate one-pager is because it'll tell you how much money it takes to offset, to make the tax rate go up. So what it's telling you is essentially $30,000 per 10 cents. You can increase overlay that amount, like any multiple of 30,000, it can be 15,000, it can be whatever you want it to be, but that's how you can do the math to figure out kind of sort of where you're gonna end up. The other thing you can do is under-report revenue. So we've filed our estimated revenues. You can under-report what you think you're gonna bring in for motor vehicle or vehicle permits and building permits and like that. So I'm not suggesting that you do that. Overlay is kind of a better mechanism since there is the chance that that money's gonna get expended this year anyway, and it's also a faster process for them to adjust overlay rather than revenue. But that being said, whatever you can do to bring the tax rate up some is going to make the hit of this time next year not quite as bad for people. Because while I did print off something that I'm suggesting go in the tax bill, you're still gonna have people that are gonna be surprised. And we're gonna talk about this between now and the November bill next year. So hopefully people will have heard about it several times and be putting money away and be prepared for that. But nonetheless, you have some discretion here.
Okay, so increasing the overlay, will it be factual, or will it be just, let's do it so it lowers the rate or whatever? I mean, I don't wanna put something in writing that it's not a factual number.
Yeah, we should take the cases that are outstanding and project.
But didn't we already with that number?
Not exactly, no. I didn't look at the PSNH number. To my recollection, it was like
19,000?
it was around 20. So I put the 20 because it was around 20. There's no way to immediately know what the effect of those 6 abatements would be. It's gonna take some time to do some math and project, but in the end, you can't make it factual because they're not settled yet. It's still subject to mediation, and it may not settle, and it may go to court, and it may not even happen this year. So, there's no way to make it
But we know they're
factual.
there.
You know they're there.
Okay, so,
What are they? Like the
They
house
are-
residences?
They are 4 homes on Woods Run,
Okay.
1 on 3rd Street, and Hannaford.
Oh, so Hannaford could be a substantial
Potentially.
adjustment. The other ones are I mean, we're not talking about
It's just
hundreds
a-
of thousands of dollars of adjustments on a single.
No, I mean, I think you're talking about, you know,
Right,
maybe like $3,000 to $5,000.
But Hannaford's only the property behind it, right? It's not the building.
yeah, but they,
Or it's part of the building, but it's certainly not all of the
It's-
building.
It's not
yeah,
all the building,
Yeah,
no.
for sure.
but what they're saying, I can't think of the name of the place, did, was like really misclassify it,
Mhm.
right? They
That's their,
claim.
yes.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is that you know, with regard to factual or not factual, whatever's gonna happen will straighten itself out in the 2019 audit.
Mhm.
And then that will be part of how next year's tax rate
Right.
is set and whatever the fund balance situation will be at that time.
So last year we used a similar overlay, it was around the same number. And it comes out in the wash.
Mm.
Yeah, it all comes out in the wash, because in the end, you know, whatever happens is only gonna be what actually factually happens
Mhm.
through the audit. So
Because it's an estimated number.
it's an estimated
Yes.
number.
Okay,
But
I
the
just
other
wanna make
thing
sure we
is-
don't escalate an
So the
estimated
other
number.
thing is, if you over-report the overlay, and so say you raise the overlay to $100,000 and really it turned out to not be more than 20, that'll be $80,000 in your general fund that you could use to offset next year's problem.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, or you
And
can
again,
also
which-
use some of your fund balance to offset the problem as well.
Well, right, but it will increase your power to do so because it's gonna increase the general fund.
Mhm,
Again, only by pennies
Mhm.
or dimes, but it's hard to offset $300,000
Mhm.
from the school.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's,
That, you know,
kudos to them, but yeah, it's affecting us big time. I mean,
So there's
it's
a chance that the
explainable,
school stays at the level they're at, right?
no.
though. No.
Oh,
No, they had more revenue than they needed,
from what?
the state.
Oh, okay, so surprise.
Yeah, adequacy grant, so, they retained some of it, but they returned the rest. So, you know, you can't count on it, who knows how that, how that money's gonna go next year,
Yeah.
but I would assume that it is a
Okay.
runoff.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I would suggest raising the overlay to account for some of these outstanding abatements. And again, maybe we raise it to like 40,000, that's still only gonna get us 15 cents,
Not even.
not even. Cause the rate is already including the 21,607, right?
You need 45,000 or just over 45,000 to get to 15 cents. So you can take, if you have your phone with you, you can take that 29,531
Mhm.
and multiply it by 1.5 if 15 cents is your goal. Not to suggest that it is, or you can take
Yeah.
30, you can take 40,000 and, figure out.
Yeah, that's 44,400. So if we make an adjustment to the overlay, you go and put it in the portal, do we automatically get our tax rate?
It takes her it takes our advisor not a lot of time
Okay.
she has to push a button on her end once we do that. I don't know that would be today, I would hope it would be today.
Okay,
There's
Um,
no guarantees.
just of the, in
They're
the
busy.
interest of,
Well,
Doing
right, it's
everyone
that
else.
time of the year, yes.
I mean, is it really worth all of it just for
for
15
15
cents?
cents?
I mean,
Well, so my only comment to that is think about all the people who are receiving this, despite all the warnings, think about the people
It's 52
who are
bucks a year for
receiving, this extraordinary bill in December next year.
Mhm.
And then also think about what that's gonna do psychologically for their willingness to approve whatever budget for 2021.
mhm.
because even though that's not necessarily much of a jump in the tax rate, from year to year in terms of our expenditure budget or what we've, actually brought in revenue, it's gonna feel like an enormous jump because of this one-year blip.
When we're sitting here next year and it's $1.30 versus $1.15, $1.15's gonna feel
Right, think
a
about
lot
next,
better.
yes, yes.
Yeah, it is, however, I mean,
I think it's worth it, yeah, I think we should increase the overlay to 44.4.
Yeah, I think that's,
you need to make a motion.
okay. I'll make a motion that we increase the overlay to $44,400.
Seconded.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I will email you, when it comes in, I will get you the final tax
Yeah,
rate
if you can
document,
read
which will
that,
be a
44,400.
report very much like what you're looking at. It'll just be final.
Oh, I may have done the math on
Hold on.
that. No, I didn't.
Okay. So it's, instead of 21,607, it's 44,400? Yeah.
And the rate will be 22.71.
All right, so,
Well, I'm not sure I'm agreeing with your 2271.
Oh, is it 22.56 plus 15, right?
Well, so you're starting with 2246.
Oh, I'm looking at this number down at
no,
the
this
bottom.
one right here.
Is this wrong or is this a different number?
Well, it's not the document. that-
That's,
Got it.
yeah,
So what is it gonna be?
22.61.
that makes, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we'll go on to mailing tax bills, postage PO. We were talking about outsourcing the mailing tax bills and to bring it back into the house. And I think it's still a topic for discussion, but I don't think we can't do it this time.
They're
It's just too tight of
set
a,
up to do it, right? Mel?
It's possible, but the parameters are tight.
Yeah, it's too tight.
They have all of our supplies, we'd
Oh,
have to
okay.
retrieve the supplies.
yeah. I
What's
think-
the benefit,
Well, one-
cost or?
One of the, well, benefit is you're not paying the cost, and the other thing is that you're bringing your postage back into your local post office, which will help to keep it
I thought
a
we
very active one.
heard that they sent them to Manchester anyway. or
So
something.
the tax bills are printed in Manchester, they get an electronic file, they stuff envelopes and they put it through a postage meter and we get a reduced postage rate, but then we pay labor to offset that. The difference is maybe $100, more money to have them send them out.
Mhm.
But it does decrease the
Activity.
traffic,
Yeah, yeah.
for
I
our
think
post
it's-
office.
Right. So, I mean, it was always done previously by volunteers, I'm sure that we can search and have that done as well, and I think it's something that we should consider, but not for this
Yep,
year.
I agree.
But talk about it in the budget for that we're still working on.
Okay.
So we all in favor of that,
Yes.
by consensus? Okay, very
consensus.
good. Water at Legion, equipment PO.
So we have seen a survey of the property which changes the conversation a bit because it really does not seem to be water sewer district property at all where the problem is happening. The Legion property extends back further up Locust Street than we had originally thought. And so we don't need water sewer district permission to do the work, so we're not held up by the date of their next meeting. So there is still a benefit to doing it this year, since the water was nearly washing out the road last year. There's the potential for that to happen this winter as well. The culvert that extends into the woods to the catch basin that we know is impaired is quite large. But then also, Ken Shorey came in and told us that there are sinkholes starting to form on Foundry Street on the other side of, like, in front of the ballpark. And so, very likely, what has happened is that since the repair of the culvert on Pine Street, there's increased flow from that brook, in addition to winter rains, which is a relatively new thing. So the water going through those pipes is a larger volume than it has ever been. George witnessed that through the bubbling up of the grate on Foundry in a recent heavy rainstorm. So I'm thinking that we eventually need to get engineering to tell us whether or not likely we need to replace the whole line to the river, the storm drain system from in the woods back there through the river. So I would hesitate to suggest that we replace that, even just that one section of pipe, until we really know what the full situation is. And George had said he was gonna get a quote for cammering the system so that we can see internally through the pipes what's going on, and that'll help inform the conversation. But in the meantime, whatever we can do, this ditch work to redirect the water so it doesn't wash out the road,
Yeah.
would be a good idea.
So financially for the 2020 budget, we should be looking at
So
money for that.
while I am moving money around within the 19 budget, I am going to price out potential projects that we could still do so that the board can prioritize the money that's left. And one of my suggestions would be to move whatever expenses we've put into the culvert fund this year out of the culvert fund into the operating budget if we can afford to, so that we can keep as much money in the culvert fund for 2020 or 21, whenever it is that we're potentially going to do this, depending on what the camera shows.
And how much is it, do you know how much is in there now?
Not offhand, but I can get it pretty readily.
Okay, that's fine. All right, so we should, so do you know how long it would take to get that quote, George? Do you know how long it would take to get that quote?
Supposed to get the camera?
Yeah,
I know he's busy, I'm
okay.
not sure on time.
But for now, we're gonna do the ditch work, right?
If,
Well, that's the question for the board today. He needs to rent equipment to do it because the
Yeah.
space back there is really tight.
And timing is,
Right,
Gotta do it
so.
now,
yeah.
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 Well, and so I've put in a call to the commander of the Legion. I don't know what their approval process is for giving us permission to do this on their land and access it through their land. So I don't, their regular scheduled meeting is Tuesday night. I'm hoping I can speak to the commander before then, so that if that has to go to their board, that they have time to understand the situation and discuss it at that meeting. So that's the other.
Yeah, it's only to their best interest.
Well, of course, because it is also washing out their parking lot, so.
Right, right,
So I don't anticipate a problem,
Yeah.
but they may have to go through whatever process they have to go through about it.
okay. All right, so you'll keep us updated on that.
Indeed.
Can you do the work even after snow falls? As long as
Like
the
the ground
ground's
don't
not
freeze.
frozen?
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I think we're getting snow, I think on Tuesday next week.
Yeah.
it's not gonna snow.
No?
Do you have a PO or will,
Do you have a?
I do have a PO for,
okay.
We shouldn't hold it up, we should probably, we should
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
address it today in
So
case
it's
it's
already-
like, yes, we can do it right away and not have to worry about it, so. Why don't you bring that up, George, and we'll just put pending approval of the Legion as part of the motion.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen without,
Yeah.
the rental for the machine is $900 for a week, it's actually cheaper than doing it day by day.
Okay,
It's from Ambrose Equipment again.
yeah. All right, go ahead.
I'll move purchase order 1774 to Ambrose Equipment for $900 for equipment rental.
All right, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so if you did less than a week though, you would still be paying the weekly fee, because that's.
If we can do it in so many days, because you'd rent it 2 days, it's probably amount, it would be for a week.
Yeah,
So,
okay, very good. Oh, you have to sign it, sorry, warning.
What kind of truck is it, or is it like a bobcat or
small,
something?
it's a small excavator, same thing we basically used when we did the ditch work, it's, so we can sneak in behind that building and stuff, you can't get in. The PO I got for Allied Equipment, I screwed up on the number, so it's about $200 more to be built than it was originally. I also want to just adjust that PO.
Oh, is this something, this is something we already did?
Yeah, it was,
Just had an
I
additional area, or?
wrote down the wrong number on one part,
Okay,
about $200 difference.
So it's higher, okay. Can we have a motion to increase that PO by, is it 200 even?
200 and some pennies.
All right, there's the invoice, whatever the difference is. Or,
Okay.
yeah.
I make a motion to amend purchase order 1772 to Allied
Equipment,
Equipment.
I handwrite
Just-
it.
I'll just say.
Just say the
two.
dollar amount too, yeah.
To $1,388.48.
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so we'll just take this and this. 1, 3, 8, 8.
Can you date it?
Yep.
Today's the 8th. Thank you.
Oh, no, not 18, 8. Right down. Didn't change your copy, we're gonna make it a copy.
Yeah.
All right, all right. Okay.
I got a PO for Mo's Signs to do the lettering on the new truck, just so we can schedule that as soon as it gets here.
Mhm.
It's for $435. It's also to replace the sticker on the window that was broken on the machine, on the backhoe. So it's $435 total for both the side window on the backhoe and the lettering on the new dump truck.
They do window replacement?
No, the glass we replaced, but
Oh.
the lettering, put the name
Oh,
back
there's
on.
lettering on it, oh, okay, all right.
So, Mo's Signs and stuff, Phil.
I move purchase order 1777 to Mo's Sign for lettering for the new truck and the sticker on the backhoe window in the amount of $435.
Second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Who got that sign done so quickly, the Rollinsford municipality?
State.
That was so
State.
funny.
I was getting ready to call them and see, they must have got a call because the sign was down, because I was ready to call.
Well, it was in Foster's,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that did.
It
well,
was
that-
in Foster's?
They interviewed
Oh,
me
there's an
about
article,
it.
this.
I saw it on
They
Facebook.
interviewed
It
me
went
about it.
viral on
I said,
Really?
I had nothing to do with it. I don't know how long.
Oh, Jessica has to sign it.
I think it's been there for years.
No.
I can't
brand new
believe it.
sign
Was
within a
that
month.
new?
Oh,
It
okay.
was a
'cause
nice
they-
new sign,
Oh,
they just
okay.
screwed up on the spelling.
Rawlings
Well,
first.
it's really
Happened
most of
before.
That's my pet peeve,
It was
though,
on
is
a
when
fire
people say
truck.
Rawlings.
It was,
Yeah.
it happened to a fire truck.
They did it on one of the highway trucks.
Another highway truck,
They
too.
did the lettering on one of the trucks one time we went away, I was told.
Is it
Well,
fire
the
truck
post
too?
office used to on their
It's
receipts.
yours. I got mine.
Really?
Rawlings first.
I don't know how much you wanted,
Make it quick, I gotta go to work.
Yeah,
I don't know about the lean tool, we didn't get into the figures on that, Jerry, so we'll hold
No,
on that.
just-
Let's hold off on that one. Just a thought I come up with, I understand that you've taken the sidewalk machine out of the budget, out of the CIP.
We haven't done
Articulating
that
loader?
yet, have we?
yeah.
We voted on the CIP one?
Is that the articulating loader?
Yes.
Yeah, we did
Yes.
that.
I know that goes,
Moved it up.
We moved it out.
right, which essentially puts it out 2 more winters,
Maybe, yes,
without a doubt.
yes.
So I did some creative,
I didn't mean to interrupt you, I'm sorry.
I spoke with Ambrose Equipment. They have just taken in a couple of nice used machines from the university. They take them for 5 years and they send them back. It's about, makes the machine, our cost to buy this machine would be about $57,000. They offered us a $2,500 a month lease, that we could lease it till budget time if you decide to do something, and then this is just an option. And you get 70% of the lease money back towards the purchase if we decide to purchase one this year. Of course, it's a used machine, so they're not gonna have it available. You know, they got 2 available right now. But they, no guarantees how long they're gonna be available.
Right.
So the option is, if we could rent one, see if we like them. If we don't, it's just, we leased it for the winter. And we can decide to go that route. The only thing that isn't available, and there isn't even available on the new ones right now, is being able to get a sander on it. But we don't have a sander for our machine now, but at least this would open up most of our sidewalks that we, you know, it, and, you know, it's another option.
Okay.
You know, I don't need new equipment. This machine will last, it's got 1,700 hours on it, don't have a lot of hours on it. And they said, you know, that machine will last a small town. I mean, even the Bobcat, it's got just around 1,700 hours on it in so many years. You're not putting a ton of hours on a machine. So your life expectancy on a machine in a town our size is a far cry more than it would be on other towns. And it's another option for, you know, saving $30,000 or $40,000 to purchase a new one. So this would come with a new snow blower and everything on it, because they gotta put one on it because the machine itself doesn't have the snow blower, but that would be putting a new snow blower on a new bucket, so. It's, I wanted to give you something else to think about. I understand it's late in the season, but, you know, I think sidewalk safety it's been on my plate since I've been here, so.
All right, thank you for doing that. Have soft contract on here as well.
Yeah, I have that right here.
Okay.
I got a quote from Granite State Minerals. Their price was significantly lower than ours, however, when I got the quote, it was already beyond the date of acceptance. So I renegotiated our contract with Morton Salt. Original price was gonna be $53.75. I got it down to $51.75. So, this is the contract for them to sign, we just have to send it in
Is that like per ton?
per time.
So we've already signed the contract, this is just gonna replace the contract?
I'm not sure that you have signed a contract.
We-
It would replace whatever contract.
We
I
did
remember
the,
discussing, but I don't
I
remember.
haven't brought it
processing.
we've reserved a certain amount, right?
That's
Maybe
typically
that's-
what happens every
Yeah,
year and what
we
this
did
is
that.
about, but I don't think that you've done that
You
yet
know,
this
she
year.
told me there was no contract on hand from us.
Yeah, that,
I remember talking about salt, but
yeah.
it might have been
We've
last
talked
year.
about it, but
Okay. Well, there was something in the folder, that's why I know there was
Yeah.
something in the folder, but maybe that was just
The
telling us the
original
price.
quote probably was in the
probably
folder.
the
Right.
original.
Okay,
Right.
okay. So, does this have to be signed tonight?
Yeah,
today?
that should be signed as soon as
Oh,
possible,
okay.
guarantee them these, so she can get
We
it
have
back.
to reserve a certain number of
Amount of
tons,
tonnage,
is
gotcha.
part of what that's
All right.
about, which does not obligate us to buy that many tons.
Okay, do
I'll
you
make-
want to?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the contracts from Morton Salt for 50.
We don't have to pay for the rights though, right? We just pay for the usage.
Oh, 51.75 a ton, and we're reserving 32 tons?
No, you reserve, you get 1,000
tons.
1,000 tons.
Okay.
And we don't use nowhere near that, we used about 400, I think we were under this year again.
Typically around 400.
Okay, and,
Oh, second.
okay, any further discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Okay, so, one signature. Okay.
Yeah, this just, they just want a signature on it apparently.
So we just use like rock salt, right?
Yeah.
It's that alternative that some towns do where they do in
Calcium
solution.
chloride,
Calcium chloride, yeah.
You want to make a copy before you give that?
you
back
want
to
more
them?
expensive?
Yes.
Yeah, it's more expensive, right?
Oh, you have to re-equip all your trucks, you
Yeah,
gotta,
to
you gotta
spray.
redesign the trucks to have, you know, to do it.
Hmm.
And the size,
It's less effective. as
for
well.
our roads, we don't have the heavy traffic
Yeah.
that they do, you know, it's basically for main roads. Nobody doesn't do all their streets, they do essential
Heavier.
labs, heavier
Yeah.
traffic areas. And that's pre-treating basically.
Yeah.
Going back to the, did everybody read the, is this what you're proposing to
That
send
is
in
what
the
I'm
town-
proposing.
in the town
Jessica
bill?
has a good edit of just moving a couple of words around.
Okay,
In the third sentence, moving next year, which is at the end of the sentence, to the beginning of the sentence.
Next year, the tax rate will turn near what it was.
So, you know, I just wanted to bring to your attention that I think we ought to put something to this effect
Absolutely.
in there.
alrighty.
I know,
Does that
even
sound
just in
okay
our
with you?
house,
It
we would
does.
get, you know, a low bill,
I'm
then
not
we get a
sh-
high bill, we'd be like,
I
what
think
the
we-
hell?
Yeah. And that would be significant to most people. Mine went down too, and someone was surprised.
You just had a revale though, didn't you?
Yeah, it didn't go down much.
Well, it doesn't mean your bill changes.
Do you
just
think
continues.
you could include a real life example
I can do the $5,000
Yeah.
example, I think
Just
that
to-
might,
That's a
Sure.
good
help
idea.
illustrate?
I can do that,
Yeah.
absolutely,
So you need to set aside an extra $85 a month. This means you
yeah.
do not ignore.
We're warning you.
We're forewarning you, alrighty. So
Thank
you'll
you.
take care of that,
Sure,
and your
yes.
suggestion is fine too, your suggestion is fine, so, okay. Alright, any other business? Alright, do you have non-public?
There is a non-public, you wanted non-public, to talk about something that you and I had talked about.
Oh, yes,
I move we
okay.
go into non-public.
Unless you want to do, I'm sorry, community input.
Oh,
before.
community input?
Oh, yeah, and that's up to them.
Nope, okay, so we're gonna go into non-public.
I'll make a motion to go into non-public for personnel under RSA 91-A, colon,
Hi,
3,
George, thank you.
section 2, letter A.
Second.
Alright, roll call. Miles,
Yes.
Denise, yes,
Jessica, yes.
Jessica, yes, okay. Alright, non-public, so Michelle, please.
Have a good day.
Thank you.